Bake that pie. Pull up, hop out, then I bake that pie. Bake that pie. Pull up, hop out, then I swerve. Bake that pie. Bake that pie. I know you like me, but you love it bad. Bake that pie. I like the pie. Pull up, hop out, then I swerve. Bake that pie. Bake that pie. Sometimes she call me easy when I hate that. Bake that pie. Bake that pie. Hey. Hey. Bake that pie. You on a mission in my kitchen. Made him use it, but my boyfriend keep him bitchin'. Said it twice, boy it's nice. Come to shine, baby, mixin' with my Pokemon. Bake that pie. I can smell him all the way from home. Peeking through the window, I can see, but I can hear him moan. Bake that pie. I've been mad. You said, bake that pie. I know you like me, but you love it bad. Bake that pie. Sometimes she call me easy when I hate that. Bake that pie. Bake that pie. I like the pie from my boyfriend. I know you like me, but you love it bad. Bake that pie. Pull up, hop out, then I swerve.
Hey, you guys. Hey. Welcome. It's your girl, Robbie Privilege. And you know I'm always up to something, honey. Let's flip the game a little bit. We're gonna take off the chat just from my screen and my stream because we are multi-streaming today. So on today, honey, you will see chatters that you have not seen before. We are streaming to a plethora of channels all at once because this is a topic that needs to be addressed in the community. Depression. No one cares when it comes to Black women. And today we are joined by the real Dana, who has brought this topic, and we're going to be speaking about it all at once. Welcome, the real Dana.
Hi. Yeah. So this is cute. This is the first time I even use Restream and multi-stream. So I think this is good. I'm excited. It's a good topic. And I think it's a topic that needs to be discussed. And it's probably going to be a part 2. And I'm excited about the panel coming up to talk on it. So yeah, let's get into it. Hi, everybody. Oh, so people that listen on my channel, we are, what is this?
Restream.io. This is a multi-stream broadcast. We are on multiple. Yes.
So we're on my channel, Raw B channel, and the other ladies that's on here channels as well. So hi, everybody.
Enjoy. Yes. Yeah. So let me go ahead and bring all the beautiful.
Oh no. Bring Dr. A to set the tone of the conversation.
Yes, we are actually going to give Dr. A, who is a medical professional, because when we talk about topics like this, we're not just talking off the cuff. We come with facts, statistics, and accurate information. So we are going to let her have a solo cam. We're going to step down and let her talk about it. Welcome, Dr. A. How you doing, love?
This is so exciting that really, as all the guys are getting into playoffs and getting ready for Super Bowl, we as a gender are going to do our own super. We're going to hit a field. We're going to hit a touchdown over and over. And how are we going to do this? It's tackling and talking about depression amongst women of color, specifically amongst Black women. This is the thing which in Black families, you have a woman who just doesn't get out of bed. Weeks, months, years even. You look back in generations of African American women who self-medicated with alcohol, with drugs, with Valium from a prescription from a doctor or multiple doctors. We see women who abused their children or who were victims was depression. We have women by the hundreds of thousands who give birth to a child and go through a whole pregnancy expecting the ultimate joy, the ultimate fulfillment in the feeling of drowning, the feeling of being completely overwhelmed, isolated, incompetent, the feeling of shame and guilt that plague depression. Depression is the silent globally, but particularly within the United States. We have access, allegedly, to hospitals and clinics. We have access to health insurance. We are no longer under segregation. We can go with incompetency amongst medical professionals. They continually oversee, meaning miss the boat when it comes to the mental health issues that plague Black women. Black women will go into completely oblivious to the mountains and mountains and mountains of isolation, depression, or anxiety that she's experiencing. She's not going to come in the way Becky will present herself. Wah, wah, wah. We get a lot of attention as women, and people feel sorry for us. We get pity when we cry. But Black women, women of color, we are far less likely to cry as a result of depression. We're an angry Black woman. No. Maybe it's not that after all. Maybe it really is something far deeper that's not being addressed. Maybe the 10 million pounds on her shoulders of being the pivotal axis of her family for her man. Maybe all of this is mounting on her and it's a bit too much. But we just say, angry Black woman. Well, tonight, we're going to go deeper. We're going to get the shovel and go in because it's the playoff and I want us to win and not lose. That means we have to face the monster, face the elephant in the room, dig it all up. Because at the end of it, at the end of the tunnel, there is a rainbow. There is a
Thank you, Dr. A, for setting the tonality of the stream. I appreciate you. Now we're going to bring in all of our ladies. Hello, ladies, beautiful people, the beautiful people. Throughout this stream, we will be taking turns being up here by ourselves so that you can see us all and hear us very clearly what we're talking about. We're going to ask that everybody be respectful in the chat and please stay on topic. Okay, so let's really get into it. Let's start unpacking it. Who wants to go first?
Where are we starting?
Well, let's start at postpartum. because
Okay.
apparently for African American women that are suffering through postpartum,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was
it's
muted.
okay. I was like, wait, you know,
I was
it's
saying let's
really
look at the article while we even doing this topic.
okay.
Because
Yeah,
everyone got
we
the article.
can.
You want to share it?
Yeah, yeah, I will.
All right. Because the article is NYU did research, says depression may look different in Black women. And it says the variation in depression symptoms could relate to underdiagnosis and miscare. So we may be depressed and we don't even know the signs and symptoms ourselves. And we go to the doctor thinking it's something else, and they're not diagnosing Black women correctly. And everyone did get a chance to look at it.
Mhm.
Some of the symptoms are sleep disturbance, self-criticism, irritability, then the stereotypical symptoms such as depression with mood. In this article, it also said that are symptoms where we may lack um, libido, like it may be a decrease in libido, and I kind of want to get to that down the line in this conversation. Um, it's more somatic. Typical depression symptoms such as feeling hopelessness or depressed mood, fatigue, insomnia. So a lot of things that we may think as physical or stress is probably most likely a result of depression, but a lot of doctors are not picking it up when it comes to Black women. And I do want to ask that question of why, but then everyone could go around and actually comment on. And I also want to ask this question: have you experienced depression? And or maybe you haven't really paid attention to it. And if you did experience depression, like what were some of the things that you did to overcome it? And what are like stereotypes that Black women today are labeled as, like the angry Black woman or superwoman? And I think a lot of that can be added on to our depression as well. So yeah.
Mhm.
Well, okay. Let's dive right on in. So when I was reading this article, all I could stop to think about was postpartum depression. Because for me, that's where it starts for a lot of women. When they are giving birth to children and they are dealing with postpartum, they're told, oh no, you're just being lazy. Oh no, you're not that tired. Get up and move around. And ignoring that phase of life for women and not helping them get the adequate care that they need as far as mental health goes can lead to maladaptive, bonding with the child, which can then lead to bigger problems in the community. What do you guys think about that?
Who
Accurate.
wants
Thank you, Dr. A.
the
Ladies?
other ladies, yeah, the other ladies could, because I'm gonna fall back and have the other ladies speak.
I wasn't sure if somebody else was going to speak. No, I was going to say, as far as like the postpartum, I think that that's really accurate. I know for me personally, I've dealt with just depression in general, not postpartum, but I struggle with depression because I mean it's not something that you turn on and off. So it's not like once you struggle with it, you struggle with it. But I think that a lot of people have a lot of misunderstanding again about the symptoms and the signs. And like you said, when you don't have that motivation and when you can't get out of bed, or when you have high irritability, or you are like really forgetful, like there's a lot of different parts to it, and a lot of people don't understand that as being a part of depression. So it could be, so people approach it differently, right? Like they have less empathy when you're experiencing that type of thing, which at the end of the day exacerbates it and just kind of makes it worse. So I think it's really important to make sure that you are doing things like going to therapy and seeing your psychiatrist and taking like some of the stigma out of it. Like it's just a part of anything else that you do to make sure that you're healthy. You know what I mean? And like I think you can incorporate it with that mindset as opposed to it being like, oh, there's something wrong with me. You know what I mean? It's just a normal part of maintaining your health. So
To chime in, I think that as Blacks, when to say that going through depression is like a signs of weakness, like women. So, like self, like suffer from depression. I do get that with getting therapy. I feel like my therapist doesn't. Well, you have to deal with all of the things that you have to do. Okay, you've done it before, and it's not something you can just be happy. It's not something. It's not, you don't want to be this way. It's just what it's in society. I think we just don't get taken serious. In that article, I was like, oh my God, this is me. It's like you can just deal with it all.
And I'll add in or chime in. I have suffered from depression. I didn't realize I was suffering from depression. I was in a bad marriage. I had a lot of stress with my career. I wasn't happy there. I love the money, but I hated going to work every day. And I didn't realize that I was self-medicating with food and alcohol. I was hanging out with friends and, we go out one night, hey girl, come on, let's go out. And one night turned into the whole weekend. Then we added to it a couple nights during the week. And then it's like, wait, I realized that I was doing that because I was avoiding going home to the bad marriage. That was my way of quote unquote unwinding after work, after I had a stressful day. And then once I realized what I was doing, I'm like, okay, no, I got to stop because, I'm getting bigger. That's going to be a whole problem. I need to get out of this marriage because life is too short. And I just started making personal changes.
I agree, and I think that's good.
Congratulations.
I wanted to read something real quick from the article. It says, the nursing research study aimed to address this research gap by exploring variations in depression symptoms among Black women, a population that is understudied despite being at an increased risk of depression. So we're more at risk of being depressed than any other group of women. The researchers analyzed data from 227 Black women who were screened for depression as part of the intergenerational impact of psychological and genetic factors on blood pressure study, a study of Black mothers and children that seeks to understand the genetic, psychological, and environmental factors that contribute to high blood pressure. So I guess it's a link between high blood pressure and depression. But, I wonder why are us Black women, and our children are being under or undiagnosed with depression?
Well, because, there's a lot of people out here that have inappropriate mindset. Take, for instance, this comment in the chat. This comment says most married women do not suffer from depression. Look up the statistics. Now, I'm going to just do a quick poll while we're on this panel. How many of you ladies are married or have been married? Please raise your hand. How many of you have, you're so silly. How many of you have suffered from depression during your marriage? Please raise your hand. So, as you sit here and you are ingesting the information we're providing on this panel, it looks like your statistic would be incorrect because married women have suffered from depression. And this is the point that we have to stop speaking from when we're talking on these issues. Just because you've read some random poll study pulled somewhere to make you feel good about whatever it is you have going on in life, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a medical fact at all. And we do have a doctor here on the one and the twos. Let me go ahead and give her the big screen. We have a whole medical professional that can tell you what you're saying is incorrect. And I need my people to stop speaking out of shame tactics and actually start speaking life, especially to the women in the community, because you have so many expectations of African American women, yet and still you take no time to understand us. Somehow in this society, it has become that we are the mules, the workhorses, set to do everything with no care at all. I'm gonna be quiet, ladies. Y'all have it.
Yeah, I
No,
was
but
gonna.
you're right,
Oh, I'm gonna
right,
let the doctor speak.
summarizing it perfectly. Because number one, we started this discussion with each woman being so candid and so transparent in letting the viewers. I mean, in many instances, you take months to years to reveal what these women have revealed to you, a viewership, instantaneously. Instantaneously, with you being a stranger. That takes courage. So the reality, as our hostesses understand, that's why we are viewing, that's why we are, making this a live show, making this a show that has many panelists, making it a topic. Why? Knowledge. It's not just more prevalent, it's killing Black women. I know 3 Black women who have taken their lives within the past year. COVID has worsened the isolation, the feeling of shame. So through generations, women of color have been in marriages that have been unhappy and had no voice. It's really ignorance to think because she's married, she's happy. I want you to dive into this topic with knowledge, not with some brain dead, asinine, cockamamie concept that's inaccurate.
I think that it's also a misunderstanding and just shows the ignorance of that a lot of people have on the topic. It's kind of like they dumb it down to just being like, oh, you're happy or you're sad. Like that's not what depression is, right? So it's like when you try to correlate that to be like, well, if you're in a relationship, you should be happy, right? It's like that doesn't have anything to do really with depression.
No.
Like that's not how that works. So because I saw someone else comment in there like, oh, women may be depressed from any reason up to not having a man in their lives. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Like you can have all types of men in your life, still be depressed. It's not, that's not how depression works. That's what people's problem is. They feel like depression has to be like this sadness, like, oh, I'm sad, like, cause somebody died, or it's like, it's not that, right? It is, like you said, it's anxiety. It's being overwhelmed. It's a lot of different things that can have nothing to do with the partner at all. And like people really need to understand that at the end of the day.
And I
I
saw a
really
good comment in the chat
Oh,
from
go ahead.
Chakra Love. It's a little bit further up where she said that it's not okay. Many Black women are still high functioning because it's not okay for us to not be okay. We still have to show up. We still have to do. We still have to be mothers. We still have to be wives. We still have to be homemakers. We wear all these different hats. And many times, there are no days off. We're doing this 24/7. And you don't get the option of, okay, I'm just not going to perform today, because there's so many people relying on you, especially if you are, say, the backbone of your family, or in many cases that we see nowadays, a Black woman may be the head of household, even though she has a husband.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I? Oh, I
Go
want to insert something real quick, because listen, I normally don't talk about women issues on my platform, and I think some of those comments are coming from people from my channel, and majority of my audience are men. With that said, what this is showing me, and it's like, listen, I don't care about the viewership right now because I want to do more women topics to expand my women audience. But what I'm seeing is, with that said, do not come in here with ignorance. If you don't know something, you don't know. If you don't understand, you don't understand. So what we are talking about is something that is never talked about. Black women and our issues it's not talked about. Our sexuality, our hair, our talent as far as acting and singing, relationships. But when it comes to our wellness and well-being, mental state of mind, it's not talked about. It's barely talked about in America when we talk about mental health. So yes, this is a different show. You may think it's off from the norm, but this topic is necessary. So if you are going to be in the chat and you want to be talking sideways, trust and believe I'm still that bitch that will hide you from my channel or time your ass out. Don't play with me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I'm seeing a lot of comments that, again, it keeps correlating depression to happiness, right? It's like happy is a like day-to-day emotion. I guess you could like that doesn't you can be happy and still be depressed. Like you can be happy and satisfied in your life and still suffer depression and still suffer having anxiety and still suffer having those issues. So again, I'm going to need you guys to understand that it's not the same thing. Like depression just don't mean that you're like walking around sad and moping and being like, oh, I'm so miserable. I'm not happy with my kids. I'm not happy with my husband. Like that's not what that means.
Just like in the article,
Right.
it stated that women are misdiagnosed Black women. It's because different symptoms of depression.
Right.
I say that to you because even when I first was in therapy, I kept saying to my therapist, and he's like, well, you didn't hit the three things. Like, well, maybe I'm not going to hit the three things person. So if you have a quote unquote, if the woman has a man, she's supposed to be happy. The woman have kids, she's supposed to be fulfilled. Has a job, then she is doing what she's three. There's no reason why you should be depressed. One of these quote unquote threes. That's why on that particular thing, and that will make you know. I think that's the thing with everybody. It's like it's racist to be depressed, right? Is depressed and she's married with children and she has a job, but God forbid the Black women think it's our race that we just need to get out the box. That it happens and you can get help because a lot of women have the stigma of you being either called unstable, right? And they're the strong Black woman. So
yes, and Betty, your microphone is cutting in and out. But let me just say something really quickly. Now, gentlemen, like I get it. I totally understand. It's so easy to say, well, all women suffer from depression. Well, this, that, and the third. The fact remains, all women go through a lot. However, there is undue pressure and neglect placed upon the shoulders of Black women. Even right now, Black women are discussing depression. And we can't even get through a conversation without y'all telling us how it is that we feel, how valid what we're saying is or isn't, what depression is, that we are happy, that we aren't happy, what age group we're the happiest in. If we're married, we're automatically going to be happy in everything else. And I'm loving the comments because what it actually shows is an absolute lack of care for the mental well-being of Black women that are raising your Black children. And I find myself having this conversation often with men. If the woman in your household is not okay emotionally and mentally, what do you think is going to happen? When you're sitting there and you're wondering why women are angry, when you're wondering why the household is not being picked up, right? All she wants to do is just put on makeup or just lay in the bed and eat her little snacks. She done gained some weight or everything else. Newsflash.
Yeah.
That's asymptomatic of depression. Continue.
let
Yeah,
me
and
add this too. Men suffer
illness
from depression too. It's who's going?
can
Oh, men suffer from depression too. It's just that today we're talking about Black women, but you Black men suffer from it, and a lot of you right now listening are suffering from it. No one realize it. It just looks different. It's a
well, Twitch
different look. Go ahead.
just committed suicide. So if Twitch committed suicide as a multi-millionaire dancer on the Ellen show, she was blonde, she was white, she was rich, she was sexy. Okay, so obviously the understanding the superficial, oh, it's money, it's status. No, it's not. As a matter of fact, depression. We need to understand that the irritable, toxic Black woman is probably suffering. Just like you can suffer from asthma, suffer from diabetes. If you have diabetes or danger with depression, you're so busy ostracizing her, criticizing her, ridiculing her, when she is suffering in silence from depression, and it's life-threatening, because she could decide successful, check all the boxes, Black women who took their lives. They weren't just suffering, depressed, feeling down. They are no longer on the earth because of depression. It's under-recognized. We need to destigmatize it. That's what we're here for.
I think part of the other problem is the inability to appreciate vulnerability in Black women. Like when are Black women ever allowed to be vulnerable? And when is there empathy given for vulnerability in Black women? I hardly hear any of these conversations discuss that. It's like there's a lack of idea that Black women are even capable of having vulnerabilities. And that's why they are such good targets for all types of abuse, because they can handle it, because, they're so strong. They're not vulnerable. It doesn't matter. So I think that that's kind of part of it. And people get really uncomfortable as soon as a Black woman is like, I'm feeling this, or I've had this as a, something that I struggle with. Struggle? You don't get to struggle. What do you mean? Like, what you mean you struggling with? No, you're just this kind of way, or you're just that kind of way. You know what I mean? Like, you just need to fix it, and you need to worry about it. And I think that that's kind of part of what happens, especially with the way Black women are viewed. Black women are never seen as vulnerable. There's nothing in a stereotype or an idea or a conversation about Black women that expresses any type of vulnerability in that.
Right. I want to read this section in the article. Black women in the study with greater depressive symptoms are more likely to report somatic symptoms, fatigue, insomnia, decreased libido, and self-critical symptoms, self-hate, self-blame, than typical depression symptoms such as feeling hopelessness or depressed mood. They also reported experiencing anhedonia, an inability to experience pleasure, and irritability. So what really caught my attention was a decreased libido. Because I ain't never been that depressed, but and I don't want to experience that depression or have that symptom. But I wonder, maybe Dr. A or anybody else on the panel could answer this question for me. Can depression also be a sign of having an increase in libido, where you have a lot of women out here having a lot of sex, more so maybe with different men? Or is that a diagnosis?
I agree.
Dr. A can back me up, but that's a symptom of bipolar disorder. It's a symptom of mania.
You got it. So it can be several things, ladies. Number one, if you're acting out and self-medicating, one of the panelists already said, I would go out and binge just to blur being in a miserable marriage. So the same thing, a person who's chronically depressed can begin without therapy and proper medication. Instead of them healing from this illness, they're sexually acting out from the depression. They could be somebody who is a rape survivor, and instead of her going and getting therapy from being gang raped, so now she's super promiscuous, she's a stripper. So, like you said, the bipolar, that's a whole nother disorder from depression. You have flip-flop like a seesaw. You go way, way down, you go way, way up. So it's highly, highly likely. But also, Dana, feel like shit on the inside. You feel like total nothing. You are so self-critical, you can't connect. You are in a deep hole, like being down the well, okay? You're way down, you're somewhere else. That's why you're capable of committing suicide, because even though he may be right in the bed with you, you feel 20 million miles away from anybody, your family, your husband, your children. That's what the disease is.
Environmental. I think for Black women, a lot of times our depression derives from our environment that we grew up in, that we live in, opposed to our white counterpart. So if you grew up in the hood, or poor, or if you grew up in an environment where you go outside, there's a lot of crime, or what was going on in that household, even as a kid, I think a lot of times that could be carried over into adulthood. So how much do you guys think our environment plays into us being depressed?
I say in my case, it was the environment that I was living in at that time. I didn't really come from poverty or the hood, or I didn't experience a lot of strife. It was the bad marriage. And to the outside world, I probably had the perfect life. I lived in this, humongous house. I was making a lot of money. But the personal relationship was the major cause of the stress. And then adding to that, my work environment, where in most settings I was the only African American. So then, and on top of being the only African American, I would be the only woman. So you have all this pressure coming from these environments. Now, when I left those environments, which is why I didn't realize I was depressed, because when I would hang out with my girlfriends, we were having a good time, or seemingly having a good time. I wasn't aware of the fact that, okay, I'm avoiding these environments that are stressful, that are causing me to be depressed, and going to self-medicate with my girlfriends because this is going to make me feel good for the moment. But when I left the bar or wherever we were, I still had to go back to work. I still had to go back home. So then the cycle repeats itself.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. Like when you the best way to put it is like this. When you hear men out here complaining about, well, she's always with her friends, she always has a drink, she's always, doing X, Y, and Z, she's not spending enough time with the kids, she's not spending enough time with me, 9 times out of 10, those environments are triggers. Those environments are triggers that are making her feel unworthy. If you're constantly nagging at her, you are probably making her feel unworthy. And yeah, it absolutely sucks to tell somebody, hey, it's okay, you're doing a good job and it's going to be all right. But positive affirmations actually help women a lot when they're dealing with depression, and it helps them to overcome if you are trying to deal with mental health issues from a holistic standpoint without the use of psychotropic medications. But it's so easy for all of us to be, I don't know, just completely abhorrent with one another. You have to do better with your partners. Like, and part of doing better is being able to actually understand. Period.
Yeah, I agree, Raw. And what I was going to say for me with the question that you asked, what is it, the real Dana? With the question that you asked for me, the environment definitely did play a huge role, not just the immediate environment, but I would say that I didn't first really experience depression or really understand what was happening until I don't remember what year it was. Whatever year it was that the Trayvon Martin situation took place. Like my son at the time was maybe 10 years old or something like that. And I remember when all of that was happening, um, it just kind of came out of nowhere, like a very overwhelming, because I think sometimes like I don't think we pay enough attention to the way technology and everything has expounded in a way with how we engage and interact with information as well as with each other. So I remember during that time, it was probably when we first started really using cell phones a lot, right? Really being into the news a lot, always having this phone in your hand and seeing everything that everybody is saying everywhere all the time. And I think what stuck out to me is that I realized how Black people are still viewed in this society on a deep level. Like we always know, because we learn, like, what do we learn when we're younger? Like, oh, the civil rights movement, and they had the dogs and the hoses and they had all of this stuff, but you don't necessarily grow up in the day-to-day having those type of overt experiences, right? Especially if you grew up in a predominantly Black area. But then to see that stuff and to see how people were talking, calling this boy monkeys and he deserved it and like all of this stuff, it was like, we're still here. And it really affected me very deeply, to the point that like, and then like Genesis was saying, she, you work in a predominantly white environment a lot of times, and they making comments, a lot of, passive aggressiveness, a lot of microaggressions and different things like that. And you become hypersensitive to it. And it can make you feel really hopeless. So it doesn't have anything to do with necessarily what's going on in the house to be like, oh, this person made me unhappy in the house, right? It could be a really deep sense of just hopelessness and anxiety, which can lead to like not really being able to sleep well, not having an appetite, like different things like that, that doesn't necessarily manifest in just being like sad. So for me, like that's really what it was. And I think that that's where it like kind of kicked off from. That's been like a challenge to just, kind of overcome just that reality, to be like, oh wow, this is the reality that we're living in, and it's tough. And then people ignore it. And I would also be curious to know, because there are a lot of comments in the chat, and I'm always curious. It seems like whenever we're having any type of conversation, for some reason, it always goes back to.
Hold on, Cannon.
Yeah.
Okay, right?
Wow.
So I am utterly gobsmacked at y'all commentary in the chat. This title needs to be changed to the aftermath of hoeing. These women are drama queens and none of them have a man. If you have a man on this panel, would you please, let me make sure we can all see each other. Would you please raise your hand?
I was saying, I already hit that person. I won't even acknowledge. Please don't acknowledge.
You just
I know you don't like to. No, we have to.
You asked who was married, and everybody raised their hands up for me. Everybody raised their hand. So the fact is that, listen, that's all right, because when I do the depression on Black men, you know what I'm saying, then you're going to see the dysfunction. And then I want to know, and actually, let's be messy right now, because all these all the men that are making these stupid ass comments, and there are men who are not. So this is just for those men who are making those comments. Those are the ones who are suffering from depression. And I believe when men suffer from males suffer from depression, they lash out. They're disrespectful, they're in denial, they're mean, they lash out like they're doing. And that's all right, because I am going to do a show on breaking down depression in Black men. And I see D. Durrell, he is also a therapist, and I'm going to invite him to be on that panel to break down depression in Black men. But this is the problem and dysfunction in Black community. So you have intelligent women up here being honest about their situation, but then you have men that want to just be like, oh, you a hoe, blah, 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 blah. Well, all the problems that you guys hate about modern women, well, you have women telling you, they're not saying that we don't behave badly. What they're saying is, this is most likely reasons why, or just telling you different reasons why, and what people could do, what a woman can do to get help.
Yeah, but that's the question that I was about to ask though. I feel like there is a inability to view women as fully human outside of what their connection is to them personally.
Right.
That's literally what I was about to ask. Like, why is this turning into like a relationship? Like,
Right.
oh, you don't have a man, or it's like, what does that have to do with anything that we're discussing right now? Like, why
Because
is your mind?
Not
Because in many
They
cases,
don't like,
we
they don't
are
like
not
women.
validated. We are validated by our marital status,
I mean,
and if we are not, then they dismiss everything that we have to say.
No, but that's where I was going before. Right, that's where I was going before Dana had jumped in. The reality is, some women, and especially the women on this panel, have men that are not so narcissistic and so self-involved. They're loving on us the right way, so we are able to exist in the full range and spectrum of our emotions and troubleshoot areas where there is issues or that is problematic. If you are a narcissistic person, male or female, in a relationship, and your partner is going through trauma, and you are putting your personal bias, your ideologies onto that person, they are never going to heal. You're never going to have a sustainable relationship. And then the community is what it is today. I'm going to be quiet though. I don't talk too much sense.
I wanted to say something. I want to say something. So, I'm in America, and me, I come from background of, Haitian parents, right? So you have anything that is considered to be right, it's the devil, right? Pray this out. You need to get rid of the not allowing you to be happy. And the other aspect of, the environment, it wasn't so much for me. It was more the environment of the cultural, I guess, what is considered the success of being quote unquote not depressed, happy. So it's like I have to attain, and if I'm depressed, I allow the devil. So a lot of these, it's another thing of what we
is this
saying.
Betty? Yeah, Betty, your audio is going in and out.
Yeah.
We can. It's really,
no, your audio is like every other word.
Yeah, and it's like, and this is
I give up.
I'm loving the conversation. I'm loving the conversation, and I'm loving the flow and everybody's energy. So I put in my chat. Listen, the audio, which I'm trying something new on my channel. The audio, of course, it's audio. So it's like next show audio would be better, but
Let me take the
and we'll figure out, the audio problem. But I just want to say this, so far we're 50 minutes into this show. Now, anybody never disrespected men, males, Black boys, Black males, Black men. It's none of that. And I'm highly disappointed with some of the commentary. What is that?
I want to chime in and go back to the comments that were being made and kind of tie them into tonight's topic, which is depression. Many times comments like that, or the treatment that women get, is also a cause of depression. When women are not in relationships or not married, by a certain age or past a certain age, many times that leads to depression because they feel like, their biological clock is ticking, if they haven't had children by a certain age. And we get that a lot. Not me personally, I'm saying we as women get that a lot from men, and Black men in particular. And it's a cause of depression. I know single friends that I have who are not in relationships because they're depressed. Why can't I get in a relationship? What's wrong with me? What is it that I'm not doing? Why don't they want me? And it's leading to depression in women as well. That
Yeah.
needs to stop.
But especially
I just
when you
wish.
add the Genesis to what you said earlier about how a woman's value is so much tied, like they just want to tie our value as a person to our desirability from men. So we internalize that a lot of times.
Yeah.
These women who
I
are
just wish.
feeling that way. Yeah.
I just wish men would start talking on this topic, because maybe if men spoke to men about women's issue, as they they talk about everything else, maybe if they talk about a whole woman, then other men will listen, because the reality is, in this conversation, it's not really for men. We can't stop men from being in the building because this is a public platform. This is a conversation for the people, by the people, to the people. If you are not a Black woman with depression, we respectfully request that your comments be respectful, or that you just sit in the clouds and maybe learn a thing or two. Now, if we start
Yeah.
responding to you with a strength in our voice, extra bass, and a certain tonality, then you will say that we're being masculine, because that is the only role that a Black woman has, is to be a whore or to be masculine. We can't have educated conversations, otherwise it's a problem.
You're absolutely accurate. And that's so sad and it's so pathetic. The fact of the matter is this. The commentary is trying to shame Black women for being transparent about depression. The shame in our families is a part of the problem. The cultural shaming that our panelist is talking about that happens in Haiti. To tell somebody, get the devil out of you. The devil or the evil spirit made you a form of shaming. And the bullying that Black women experience when they attempt to be vulnerable is deplorable, is dehumanizing. I'm going to have to go soon, but I love the panelists, and our panelists, in their attempt to be transparent, have taught us that we need to destigmatize depression. Okay, even the medical community, doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners. You have a sin with her Kleenex and she's crying, you think depression. But when Susan comes in and she's pissed off and she's cussing out the staff at the front desk, and she comes in and she's impatient, she can't wait to depression. We have to destigmatize, because the way our sisters look with depression is not the way our white counterparts look with depression. Our panelists also were super transparent, their own self-realization about the diagnosis. That it wasn't the doctor who told them. They had to recognize their own habits and behavior as dysfunctional. And that's the key. Personally, you're not coping in some aspect of life, financially, spiritually, physically. That's an illness. That's a sign that you need to seek help. So we have to destigmatize. We have to recognize self-medicating. And the environment is a trigger. One of the things we haven't talked about, because we do need a part 2, is violence. Violence in the Black community. I'm in Chicago. Little Black children are being killed windows and killing people. So if you're socioeconomically disenfranchised, you can't leave that apartment, and someone was murdered there. You can't leave that neighborhood, and people were murdered, raped, God knows what. Things can be a trigger. And if we don't recognize this and do a better job of healing Black women, you know, as our hostesses have said, the Black community cannot rise up unless the Black woman is whole and healthy.
Yep. No, I'm just gonna say, I appreciate this conversation that we're having, and I'm not gonna let it be derailed. Just to whoever is in the chat who is like a one-trick pony or one-track minded or just can't get off the broken record of continuously wanting to talk about a gender war or whatever, you can say that shoe is red, and then all of a sudden like, but Black women did. Like, no one is having that conversation right now. Like, that's like nobody here was even discussing in terms of like intimate relationships. We're literally just talking about experiences that we have had as people who show up as Black women in this world and how Black women suffer with depression. That's what we're talking about. So if you can't do anything else, but you just see a group of Black women and then all of a sudden you get so triggered that all you can do is bring up all of your mommy issues that you have or whatever's going on, then you may want to, go watch something else, because that's not the conversation we're having right now. We have those conversations sometimes. So maybe you can come like find that on a day when we feel like entertaining a gender war, but it's not today. Today is not the day. That's not what we're talking about.
Thank you.
And you know what? Oh, go ahead, Dana.
I just want to say something, because every time they want to talk about the gender war in a relationship, what do they always say? Women don't take accountability. Black women don't take accountability. And then you have a panel of women up here taking accountability, talking about their own personal experiences, and you still got a problem with that. So, yeah.
This is what I was gonna say. I was gonna say this. I'm really actually stellar at ignoring the chat until I want to roast somebody down to their grandmama's ashes. But on today, it's important to pay attention to the speculation and the misinformation in the chat, because unfortunately, this is a part of the misinformation, misdiagnosis, and mistreatment of Black women. You guys got to really think about this. I'm gonna put it into this perspective for you. You're in a relationship. You're in your house. You're going through a thing. You're talking to your boyfriend or your husband. Ain't nothing wrong with you. What you whining for? Go take care of them kids. Shut up. Give me some head. Make me a sandwich. Go to the store. Don't ask me to do nothing. That's what Black women deal with every day. When a Black woman just wants to go in the tub and she's looking at those razor blades and she's contemplating slicing her own wrist because she can't take it anymore. She comes out the bathroom and is, well, what you looking like that for? Fix your face. Oh, you want to throw on some wig? Do your hair. Oh, this, that, and third. Like, that's not okay. It's not. Let me be quiet, though.
I don't think I was ever depressed, manic depressed over, you get heartbroken, you get depressed or whatever, but you heal from that. And that happened to me recently, but that's another thing. But then because I always had in my mind, honey, I'm not gonna let no man depress me. Like, where I have to, seek help, because I'm dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff. Being a woman, we go through physical, biological changes, environment. You're talking about, this is a man's world type of thing. So just being a woman, you're dealing with, especially because I'm from the tri-state area, a lot of microaggressions, especially if you're working in corporate. So it's a whole bunch of other layers. And then it's like, yeah, you do want a relationship. And then when a relationship isn't going well, for whatever reason, you have, that's added on. But a lot of times, and for me personally, my depression never came from a man. It were other things. But if I was not in a healthy relationship at the time, that will heighten the depression. And then sometimes choices that I've made, especially in a partner, was a direct reflect of being depressed and not even understanding what issues I'm going through. So you're not even able to pick a decent or right mate. So, and because you don't even know what I think, and it may sound cliche, but I think that you don't know what depression looks like yourself you're probably depressed. And a lot of people, even when the people say bipolar, I don't like when people call somebody crazy because that's dismissive. Saying somebody's bipolar is dismissive because there's different layers to that. We don't really know what depression looks like, especially for a woman and definitely especially for a Black woman. So, but I don't I try not to let a man make me depressed. I'm gonna make you depressed first.
And I think that can also be like not knowing what it looks like can also be exacerbated by the fact, and I was talking to some of my female family members about this the other day, that a lot of times we are taught to be hyper focused on everyone else around us, right? And like their needs and what's going on with them and all those other things, to the point that some of us have a difficult time being introspective enough to understand what we're actually experiencing, right? Like it's really, so it leaves more of a vulnerability to be more affected by the things that are going on outside, right? So whether it's relationships with other family members or if it's romantic relationships, whatever it is, those become such a hyper focus, right? It was like my mom made me feel like that, or my sister did this and she made me feel, and then they did that. And it's like you ask sometimes, like, well, where is that coming from for you? And a lot of times we lack the introspection to sit and look and say, okay, what am I experiencing? Why am I responding this way? How do I feel? You know what I mean? Like a lot of times we don't sit and do that. And it does come from a lot of trauma, a lot of the way that we grow up, and it's a lot of outward focus. So that's how a lot of times the depression can just sneak up, because then you wonder why you're even in that place that you are. And it's very difficult to get out of it because you're so focused on everyone else's behavior and trying to fix it, as opposed to even understanding what you're experiencing. So.
Mm-hmm. And to piggyback off of what you said, Cannon, as Black women, we're taught that self-care is being selfish. When it's absolutely a necessity for us. We have to take time for ourselves, because if we continue to go and we put everyone before ourselves, at some point the burnout is going to happen.
Why is that? Let me say this, because I'm a licensed massage therapist. And I worked all, in NYC in nice places. I could probably count on one hand how many times I saw Black women frequent, whether it's a wellness center or a spa. And it's not because we don't have the money. It's not that. When they would come in, they were treated as a treat. And let me just bring in a white woman. They go to healthcare facility, wellness centers, spas, or whatever, holistic places as part of their healthcare. So, and I think we need to stop feeling guilty and say, I'm gonna treat no, it's that has to be implemented in our lifestyle. That is part of our lives, that we need to go get a massage. We need to go do yoga. We need acupuncture, whatever. That is part of healthcare, and that's more observational research that I've come across. And every Black woman that I have massaged, in a professional setting, they treat it as I'm treating myself. And I'm like, no, this is healthcare. So, just going back to what you all was saying, we don't put ourselves first. And I think that's somewhat of I won't say mental disorder, maybe cognitive dissonance. I don't know. It's something embedded in us to where we don't put ourselves first. Maybe that's hereditary. Maybe it's passed down to where we just have to do everything for everybody else and then us.
But don't you think that that's been kind of a necessity too, like in a lot of our families and a lot of these different generations, because we have had such a unique experience in this country, especially that has required a lot of times for the family to depend on women in that way, right? To be the ones that are like, because this is what I always think is interesting about these conversations, and to the extent that it's gendered, there's a lot of times is ignored the requirement that it takes for the partner of a person that's locked up, for a partner of the person that's murdered, for the partner of the person that is getting hosed down by dogs and all these different things. So it's like, what, it's a necessity, right? Because if your partner can't operate in the world in a certain way, and again, talk about over policing, you talk about all of these things, then a lot of times, like, then you have to fill in those gaps. You have to stand in that void. And the thing is in order to survive, it's an expectation. Like, it's an expectation. Otherwise, we would not be here anymore. You know what I mean? Like as a community, like, we would have been perished a long time ago.
I think that's definitely, yeah, I think that's definitely passed down, that way of living and thinking. But I just look at it, okay, now 2023, you have Black women that are doing the damn thing, very successful, in their own right. And this just put the relationship stuff aside and having kids aside. And I just look at it, it's not, I just saying, even you don't have the troubles of women of the 60s, the 50s, and the 40s. That they had a different type of struggle than we do today. And that's how I personally feel. But we still don't take care of ourselves, and we have, even when we have the means to. And I think that it has to do with the way we were brought up, because that is passed down, that it's always a struggle, whether it's family members who may be locked up. You may not have kids, or you may be single, but someone in your family may be going through a hardship, and you have to financially support them or emotionally support them. Or if a parent is sick, if you have a brother or a sister who's acting a fool, so you got to take in their kids. And I get all that, but I just think, when are we going to literally just make it normalize taking care of ourselves first?
No, that's perfect that you brought that up, because one thing that I did learn is that Black people in general who make it to the middle class or who are successful, what is different or unique about us versus other demographics is that we are more likely to still be surrounded by people who are experiencing like extreme abject poverty or things like that. So that is going to have a different impact, especially when we're raised in a way, again, that we have more responsibility as like towards our families. Like, you'll see some other, like, I always think it's funny when people be like, and this group stick together and that group sticks together. I'm like, I don't think you're looking at, first of all, if you look at the average, what is it? The average, not household income, but at the average, the money people have, the resources. What is that called?
Generational wealth, or
yeah. When you look at the average wealth, right, of the average Black family versus the white family, it's like they have something like at least like 100,000 something, because you factor in like having houses and things like that, and we're like at something like 7,000 or something like that in general. And it's like, when you think about that, a lot of times they don't have to stick together in the same way we would a lot of times, because they can be successful. Their cousin over there is successful somewhere. They don't even really talk to each other, and they don't, you know what I mean, like that. And if you ever actually have friends that are in those different communities, you kind of see like, oh, okay, like they don't lean on each other in that way. Like, they cousin not calling them to borrow money. Like, they, like them.
Because if you notice, like, you go to nursing homes and the white people there, their kids don't come visit them. Like, I will say this, like, that's true, to where other groups of people, like Black people that hit the middle class, we are still reaching back, helping other people,
which puts us at a disadvantage. It's like you can't necessarily get ahead if you're trying to, and then there's like also that guilt, and that, like I said, the way you have to help your family. Like, if you, like, how dare you
not really.
Like, no, I mean, I'm saying that the attitude or the thought of it is, this is
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you help family, you look out for family. Like, how dare you not? Like, if you got it, you give it to them, right?
Why
So
does
I think
Robbie
that
keep playing
also
with these slides, honey? Can you put us all up on the screen at the same time?
I like to let everybody have their little spotlight
Yeah, like,
moment.
no, I
Okay?
think my ADD kicking in the sign because it's like
All right,
confusing.
I'm gonna leave y'all like this.
But yeah, but I think that that's facts. And one thing that I had to learn is that you definitely can't take care of other people unless you're taking care of yourself first. And
That's
it
true.
really is something that you have to learn.
Mhm.
Because self-care and especially for us is not necessarily taught. Like,
You
take
know
care
what?
of
I'm just
But we were taught the opposite. I
yeah.
mean, if you look at, the I don't want to say the traditional grandmothers, but grandma, big mama got up before everybody. She made breakfast. She made sure Papa had his lunch made. She took care of the kids when she got everybody off to where they needed to go. Then it was taking care of the house, doing the laundry, running whatever errands needed to be run. Before you know it, she's got to prepare dinner. She's getting everybody fed. Once everybody's fed, they're gone. Now she's got to clean up and then prepare for the next day. And she's doing all of this on very little sleep. They probably weren't getting 8 hours of sleep a night, and they were doing this day in, day out.
Mhm.
And we see this and we think, okay, in order to be a good mom, a good wife, then I got to be like Big Mama.
Yeah.
No, I
wanna-
never believed in that. Mm-mm.
Well, some women, I think a lot of women are raised that way. One of the things I would say, like my pet peeve when it comes to Black women that I don't like is, like I always say, it's this thing to where we're good for telling people what they should do, like talking to people like they're kids, telling people what they should do, like grown people. And I've seen that doing YouTube. It's like, how you gonna tell me what to do? Or I see, when women talking to men, and I think it's not because it's not coming from a negative space. It's coming because we are so used to doing everything, whether it's in a household, we're used to giving and doing things for everyone. And I don't think a lot of times we realize that that is the case, because we're so wrapped up in it and you don't take time for yourself. I also wanted to bring up Taraji P. Henson. Speaking about depression, she was over in Bali and she admitted recently that she's depressed, and something with her mental health or whatever. And she has all this success, I think at one point that she said she was diagnosed with bipolar. I'm not sure, but she's been to a therapist before. She has access to resources, but she did say on the Angie Martinez show, like, she is depressed and she needs a break, and she's in Bali and stuff. And I'm like, good for her. But there are a lot of women, particularly Black women, who can't do that, who don't have the resources to do that. But even on a small level, we just don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we don't really realize what that looks like later on down the line. Like, I will just say, for one thing, like a life altering experience for me was when let me say, my grandmother, that lady, like, she was a freaking superhero. Like, I don't care what anybody said. That was like, how do you do all of that? Who are you? Like, life ain't never been the same, right? So she's not here. But one of the biggest things for me is my grandmother had like 2 or 3 strokes, and the last one that she had, she got paralyzed on one side of her body. And I was a young adult. I was probably in my early 20s. And when I tell you, like, my grandmother is the kind of person that she not waiting for anybody to do anything. Like, she doing whatever she want to do, she getting it done. Like, you just never see her stop. You know what I'm saying? Just going, going, going. And you just see that type of what you view as strength in a person, and you just expect it to always be there. And so for me, one thing that hit home was that when that happened to her and she couldn't do things for herself, she had to be dependent on other people for literally everything. And that was the first time I ever saw my grandmother cry. Like in my
So
20s, I ever saw my grandmother cry. And it really humanized her. And it was like, wow, and a lot of it is because, again, we're so busy doing so many things for everybody else. We're not prioritizing our health and necessarily the way that we should in those different things. And a lot of times we aren't setting up and thinking about that future and that time when we may not be capable of doing things for ourselves. You know what I mean? And you get to that space and that place where now you have to be totally dependent. And then the question becomes, how are people showing up for you in return? Like, how do, if you're the hero, right? Who saves the hero? And that's kind of the question. So I think for me that really just made me understand that I have to make sure that I'm putting as many things as in place as possible to ensure that that I am able to be taken care of later on, or that I keep my health as much of a priority as I possibly can. Because I mean, you can't guarantee anything, anything can happen, but just as much as you can to keep that kind of in the forefront, and take it seriously. You know what I mean? Making sure you're eating right, making sure you're being active, making sure that you are working on those stressors and things like that. So stress takes a huge toll on your body and breaking it down. So just making sure that you are in tune with that as well. So,
but this is the thing, because I have a friend right now, shout out to my friend. She takes care of her whole family. People cannot even make a decision without consulting her. And I see the depression real time. She'll be sitting there in her space, like her office or whatever, start crying. People come in and see her crying and not even tap in to really see why she's crying and what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, people sit there and they think that, oh, well, you can't keep up with the women of the past. No, we can. But some women, modern women, if you will, have evolved past the pattern of abuse. It is completely abusive for one person to hold down every single task of every single human being in a household to sustain their day to day living. And this is why we have the gender war, because some people want to maintain the traditional system, which benefited one and caused another to be abused in an abusive situation. And other people want to evolve so that families can be better. And I implore everybody watching to really sit back today, do some self reflection, and analyze. If we keep going down the same traditional pathways and it has borne no increase in productivity for our community, is that really a win? Or is that just fulfilling a selfish self prophecy? You be the judge. Go on ahead. I'm on a mute.
Those your kids in the background, Rob?
Yes, you already know Michael is finna
Can you,
turn up.
can you tell them, like, mommy is depressed? You're making me depressed.
No, and my son has autism, so you guys can only imagine there are days when it is absolutely unbearable to live. But guess what? I don't even have the choice, and he has a father. I don't have the choice to sit back and be like, "Oh, well, it's me," and life is so very hard. No, I get to put on
Why
my
not?
big girl.
But why not? Why not? Yes, you do have a choice.
Because no, because I
You don't
happen
give
to be the
yourself
glue.
that choice. You don't give yourself that choice.
Because I'm the glue. Because I'm the glue.
Yeah,
And
but why are you making yourself the glue all the time?
no, it's not even that I'm making myself the glue. It's that when things need to be done,
who else
like
gonna
with
do it?
Kenneth's grandmama, if it need to be done, it need to be done. I can't let you take, you know what I'm saying, my autistic son and just put him somewhere on the chair, give him a lollipop. No, we got to be using that damn Toby Dynex and getting his speech patterns together. This one has to go to this appointment. That one has to go to that appointment. When I shut it down and I decide, okay, today I'm in the bed, nothing moves.
Okay. So then nothing moves that one day because you need a day.
See, no, 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 ma'am, no,
But
ma'am, no,
this
ma'am,
is
no,
where I'm
ma'am.
getting at. How that's what I'm saying. So why? And you do need a day, correct? You
Mhm.
do need some time to yourself. So why not start
But as
figuring?
a mother, because she's a good mother, she's an active mother, in order for her to get that day, she'll feel guilty about taking that day. So then she'll deny
Exactly.
herself that day.
Right. And that's
And
what
then
and I think
the
that's part of
pattern
the problem.
continues.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I think we need to reprogram how we
Mhm.
think and how we do things, because you shouldn't feel guilty if you take a day knowing that if I take a day, nothing is not going to get done. So what? It just don't get done. Maybe if you do tell the father, well, look, do this, I'm taking a day, maybe he will do it. And then the next day when you up and about, you'll have less to do. But even if he don't, I'm just saying maybe you should start figuring out how can I incorporate time for me.
Mhm.
Oh no, I get my me time now. Y'all been seeing your girl. She been getting her me time, okay?
Yeah,
But
what was that all about just now?
But
she been
for
getting
the
her
people
me
that are
time.
listening who may not know how that looks or how they can do that, it may be starting with 1 hour first. Okay, I'm gonna take an
Yes.
hour, I'm gonna shut down everything, and then graduate. Okay, I did an hour, I'm gonna do 2 hours. I go from 2 to 4 to half a day to 24 hours and or beyond, wherever you think you need to go. We don't allow ourselves that grace to do that if we are, you know trying to be present and active parents. Most times we just don't.
Oh, I mean, I
I mean,
understand Robbie with autism. Can y'all hear me today? I'm like over
yes,
my.
we can hear you.
I said empathize. I sympathize with. That's like the.
Up a little bit.
Oh, come on, I hands up. I'm done. I can't.
Are you on your AirPods?
I was on AirPods, under the AirPods. I
Yeah.
flew with the AirPods. It still ain't working.
Yeah, I don't AirPods are horrible for live streaming.
Yeah.
I'd rather
Just put it on the speaker on your
you
phone.
Yeah.
have a plug-in. Do you have the headphones that could plug into your phone and you could put in your ear? Those are better.
No.
Like,
You see how Betty looked at you? She said,
like,
I know, but it's like
or
that's what I'm saying, but it's like the old-fashioned simple, but for
Mhm.
streaming, those are better. For like unless you have a microphone with a mixer, but other than that, a plug-in cord earplugs are much
I don't know
better.
what's going. I don't know if it's the internet. I don't. The phone
Now you
just shut
sound
down.
better.
I do.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, this is your regular audio.
And
I took the AirPods off.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say this to those in the chat. Yes, you can have ABA therapy. You can have ABA therapy
Oh,
5 days a week, which my child does. But again, me being the type of parent I am, I'm gonna say I'm a little bit of a helicopter parent. I got to have eyes and ears on the situation. They're not just taking a baby and then you know what I'm saying they go about they marry. We learning together, best practices. And
Mhm.
when it comes to therapies, when you have someone that works outside of the home and they're working during the time of the therapy, sorry, not sorry. You don't get no time to sit in your bed because therapy opens 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturday. Like there's just a lot that goes into situations. But for me, having a partner that knows when the stress is too much and that will like kind of force me to sit down somewhere and take a nap while they do some other stuff is definitely helpful. But again, that takes having someone that knows when they are seeing the signs of breakdown and stopping the train before it derails. And that's why we're having this conversation.
I can't hear you, Dana.
Dana, you're muted.
Oh, I forgot I was muted. No, I was saying anybody else wanted to say something on this topic.
I think I'm not shocked at the audience's like the things that they're saying, because I think this is the reason why we have the show. It is equating everything to man, not taking what we say seriously, um, needing to know the reason why you're depressed, as if sometimes you don't even know why you're depressed. There is no reason. You're just depressed.
Mhm.
I think, somebody even said, what does the devil has to do with your culture? It's like understanding that depression comes in different ways. Black women have been misdiagnosed. We don't get the same treatment. And yes, there is cultural situations in which people are never even able to even say, I don't like this, or, I just want to take a break, or, this is overwhelming. So as much as I'm not surprised, I'm saddened that even in 2023, people really still have this like stuck mentality of, the lack of progress of people are depressed and need help.
Well, I'm also, it's just like when we're not talking about a relationships, or you're not talking about a man, or you're not talking about, the problems with modern women of feminism, and you're literally talking about mental health and something that is happening with particularly Black women, people seem less interested. And that's just how social media is right now. It has to be about drama in order to get people to tune in and listen. Just with from the beginning of this show, and the good vibes and the energy, and people just sharing their personal experiences and talking about this topic, and some of the people that, their response in the chat. And I think people are just accustomed now to negativity and drama. And that's before you even touch on if you personally are depressed or being diagnosed with depression. Look at the climate that we're living in right now in society. So I could just imagine this situation, particularly with Black women, it's going to get worse because of the way society is moving right now. We talk about the economy, you talk about politics, you have social media. We don't even know how living is being social media is basically the matrix, but we don't even know how that is psychologically affecting us. And then you go to yourself, what is happening in your home. If you're a mother, if you're in a husband, or if you have a husband or relationship and that's not healthy, and then you dealing with depression or any other mental health problem. So it's a lot, but it's not okay to talk about it. We're not believed. They don't take us seriously when we start talking about ourselves. And I think a lot of women just stop doing it.
And
because
that's
they don't wanna
tragic.
Yeah, it is.
That's
And because
tragic. I think that, it's 2023. Our mental health should matter more than it does. And it shouldn't be taboo to go see a therapist. We need to be embracing and encouraging, going to talk to somebody. Go talk it out with somebody. Even if you're not ready to go to therapy, a trusted friend. Because many people are suffering in silence. They don't feel like they have a safe place to share. So they're holding it in, and it's toxic. It's wearing on us. We've got to do better.
no,
Man,
we do.
listen. We
Because
do. And go ahead.
no, I was going to say, because when I look at even a younger generation now of women, I call them shenanes. That's a generation of shenanes, the way they look with the ass and the surgery and, all that, right? And see if they're not mothers yet, but, just wanting to be a mother. What are Black mothers going to look like 10 years from now? Are you going to be healthy enough to even carry a baby? There's a lot of factors in that. And because we are driven by social media and celebrity and gossip and stuff, a lot of those people who we, talk about, especially on YouTube, because we know it brings in more viewership. A lot of those people, those celebrities that are heightened in the news, they are dealing with a lot of mental issues and depression. And they're being propped up, as somebody special, or, selling products and, looking a certain way, which is when young girls are seeing like, oh, I want to get my ass done and I want to get my boobs done, all this other stuff. So it's developing into a culture of dysfunction.
And they're
Developing. It's already
sensationalizing
been
it.
one.
They're
Right. It's already been one.
sensationalizing. Yeah, I often I don't watch television, but I don't want to mention names, but I can't tell the story without it. But the Krishan Rock, it's a train
Oh,
wreck. And now there's a show where they're sensationalizing the train wreck.
right. I should have done a
Exactly.
better thumbnail. I should have put her on a thumbnail because
Yeah.
that girl, she's a girl. She's not a
Yeah.
woman yet. And
Yeah.
I don't like to talk about people assume somebody's mental health, but you could
Mhm.
she's depressed. She's a lot of things. And she's being paid millions, her and
Mhm.
her dysfunctional boyfriend being paid
Mhm.
millions of dollars to promote negative dysfunction,
Yeah.
particularly to Black youth. Now
And
she's pregnant.
I saw where she was going to a therapy session. Well, they had a joint, and then they met individually. And in her individual session, she had a bottle of Patron and Red Bull, and she was drinking straight out the bottle in the therapy session. I'm like, is this serious? Are they
Yes,
really
it's
doing that?
serious. Yes, she's really doing it. She's taking teeth out her mouth, putting
Yeah.
tattoos on her neck and everything else. Listen, this is the culture that depression has created. This
Mhm.
is the runoff culture from the crack era, from welfare queen Reaganomics. What we gotta start doing, and no shade to anybody, we gotta stop letting our daughters be caught up in this sexual current of the culture. We got to stop letting our daughters have children before they even adults. This child, she's not even, I don't think she's barely 25 years old. Now she's having a baby. She's already dysfunctional. So she's going to
Mhm.
teach that child to be dysfunctional. And we got to start teaching our sons too. Keep your penis in your pants. Stop sitting there having sex and hunching on every single girl because you're not even really equipped to take on that responsibility. This is a contributing factor to depression in America.
Mhm.
And I don't think people get that when they think talking about some sex is so easy and so free. It's not. Because if you don't have your money right, you wind up with a baby, it's over. Yeah, not I mean not over like you can always push through, but it's not the best path to start your life on. Your education is pushed back. You're not learning the best way possible because you're not at your full capacity. Like your earning is going to be thrown off. And everything is about money in America. So when you sitting there and you're poor and you're a bum, and so you struggle through overcoming so many obstacles to make it and become a high value person, which newsflash, only 1% of people in America are high value. Then, it's all this chaos and this competition. What we doing? Let me shut up.
Right. Somebody said, "Do you all agree with Cardi B?" What did she say? She's an entertainer. Like, why do we listen to
The
entertainers?
idea of her? Are they asking, do we agree with the idea of Cardi B?
They just said, "Do you all agree with Cardi B?" I don't I don't I don't
I don't know. I
um
keep
I
up.
don't listen to entertainers as if they're giving me knowledge. They're not there
Yeah.
to do that. Like, our culture is the only culture where celebrities are majority of our Black news, and they're propped up to convince us who to vote for or whatever. So why are we listening to them in that aspect? They just did it.
Maybe because she was talking about the recession. Maybe
No,
they mean
I
that.
think she just said that food prices are high and Bob, and then she was talking about how somebody commented, "Well, you're rich, why are you complaining?" Which is true. She was like,
Mhm.
"Well, it's all about budgeting." She was more so talking about finance, but again, that's not talking about the recession. And if we think that she's literally talking about the recession, then we have a serious problem. She's just commenting what she just replying to what a person commented because they were right. Why are you complaining about food prices and you're wealthy? You turn around here, you buying caviar and flying on private jets, and you have the audacity to come online saying food prices are expensive, and then you're trying to say, "Well, I know how to budget my money, and that's why I'm going to stay wealthy."
I mean, I think that's fair. That
No,
is how wealthy people stay.
that's a narcissistic response that she gave. She's full of shit.
Not really. I mean, a lot of people that have means and wealth, they always looking for the best deal. That's why they shop at Costco's and Sam's Club. They a lot of wealthy people, they do some things flash and dash, but y'all gotta understand. If somebody's wealthy and they're on social media and they're eating something, they're wearing something, they're going somewhere, they're getting paid for that.
She's
That's
not getting paid telling
advertising.
us something that we already know, but we're struggling with, and she's not. Just what did that girl say to LeBron? Shut up and dribble. Yeah, shut up and just rap.
No, they not.
Yeah. Why would you listen to a celebrity about the economy or anything that has to do with news or the recession or anything?
So because she a celebrity,
I'm
she can't
asking you,
say.
why would you listen to a celebrity about the economy?
Because I don't look at everybody like celebrity. Like when people are making their little posts and they're talking about things that are going on in their life, I find it interesting to see, what their day to day looks like. I think that gives her a more realistic look. It makes her more approachable, that she actually pays attention to the mathematics of her household as opposed to just always running around showing Reeboks and the glitzy pitsy life. And I also think it gives people a staunch reality check that even if you are of means, things are still a problem. So if it's a problem for somebody that's wealthy, maybe you should reassess your spending habits. And I think people as a whole, like, they put so much pressure on people that are celebrity. If somebody's not rapping, then they're not rapping. Anybody can have a conversation. So we just saying celebrities are just in one box. That's all they could do or
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
I can't
You're
with you. No.
you're there to entertain. I don't you sitting there talking to Biden, who wasn't president at the time. Why? That's because what? Because yeah, because you already have a generation of young people, hypnotized to your every word, which some of it is true, some of it's not. A lot of it is raunchy. Then if I, as a politician, I want them, the 18 and up, the Gen Zs and the millennials to vote for me. So let me prop this ignorant person that talk about bullshit, for entertainment purposes next to me, because all her followers, millions, 100 million followers, are going to go vote for me. So that doesn't mean what they're saying is so profound. They don't know what is going on around the world. She's speaking generalized talking points that we all can speak. But the problem is that we should be putting other people than her or like her, and I'm just not coming down on Cardi B, but we need to put non-celebrities in that seat that actually have coherent knowledge of what is going on and still be relatable to younger generation. Why are we always shifting to be entertained as Black people? You look at BET, there's no more news stations on BET. Early in the mornings, they're playing reruns of the Jamie Foxx show or Martin or whatever. Nothing to stimulate your mind.
So this is the thing. Like, all conversations are good conversations because it should spark a moment of creativity and curiosity within you. Again, we have to agree to disagree on this one. I think that anybody can bring a conversation to the table. Most people that are pundits giving commentary on a lot of social issues, foreign policies, or whatever, don't have a clue what they're talking about. And we often find out a year later, a few years later, that they were telling you a whole bunch of lies, trying to skew your perspective and spin a narrative. When you have people like the Cardi B's or whatever that are giving their opinion, I think when their opinion has a tendency to be a little bit spot on, people try to minimize that by saying, "Oh well, they're a celebrity and they shouldn't be speaking."
Well, let
The
me
fact,
throw let me
go
throw in
ahead.
depression, right? Because
Mhm.
this whole thing is about depression. She falls under that because what I'm getting at is with celebrities and their image, representation matters. So if I'm a young girl, Gen Z, 25, which a lot of them are depressed, especially in the Gen Z generation, but they're already dealing with some form of depression. I probably don't already know it, but then you see these new female rappers or any type of celebrity, it could be the Kardashians, whoever, and you're like, God, I want to have the designer stuff she has. I want a fat ass. I want boobs. I want that weave. I want to be like that. And if I can't be like that, then something may be wrong with me, or I'm not going to get a guy. So when we talk about representation, we talk about celebrity and how it's just shoved down our faces, shoved in our faces, that does cause depression. And then when she does come on her social media to reply to a comment about, yes, we in a recession, groceries are high, and just because I'm wealthy, you still got to budget your money. They just throw one comment about something And then people like, oh my God, she's such she you know she enlightened me so much because she knows about the economy. No, she don't. She just noticed that eggs went up, but she still bought as many as she want. So again, but her talking about WAP, her talking about her plastic surgeries, drug drugging guys, whatever, whatever, whatever. That's more of an influence and an imprint on young women that heightens a young woman's depression more than her talking about food prices.
I
Yeah,
think for her, and this is just my opinion here, but I think for her, her celebrity is relatively new. So she still has some memory, a recent memory of, strife or, struggling to make ends meet. It's not until recently that she came into money. So she probably has a better sense of inflation than someone who, comes from money, who was born into money.
but this is the thing. So even let's just say Dana's point is valid, right? On the face of it. Who cares? There's a whole bunch of people in a generation that, older people are not reaching at all. There's a whole bunch of people, whether you think that her speaking on the price of groceries is valid or not, that are actually now looking at the prices that they're spending in a world where everybody just Instacarts everything or Target run and done it, and nobody's actually looking at the bottom line of what they're spending. There are people, younger people now, looking at their money, maybe a little bit. Maybe it's not going to be, she's not going to get a Nobel Peace Prize for financial advice, but still, it's the little nuggets that change what people hear or what they see, especially in a world where they're not being exposed to that and nobody watches the news. The reality is that a lot of people on social media have a tendency to become somebody's lifeline to information. Be mindful of what you say on social media and on your platforms. You have people out here derailing whole entire investigations, such as the Cabo Six, based off of misinformation in their investigation skills. But we're okay with that. But we're not okay with somebody that has a platform to reach millions saying, hey, times is hard when you not around, budget your money. Like that's the part that be crazy to me.
Yeah, because it's just like, bitch, shut up. Because I know I'm broke. I know eggs are high. I got food stamps. So you tell me, and not even her, you look at TikTok. People do these 60 seconds bullshit histories that's not even accurate. But people believe that all of these snippets on social media is inaccurate. It's like, what are you talking about? But people believe, that's my point is people believe stuff. And representation matters. What do she represent? Someone who's budgeting her money or someone who shakes her big ass and talks about sucking this and bitch, you got condos in your head, whatever. It's spitting a hot bar.
I think it
That part
matters who she's speaking to. For us who may be older, her message may not resonate with us, but to the younger generation who she's speaking to, she probably she's very influential to them.
Right.
Exactly. And that's the point.
What
like
is she
again,
influencing them with?
but this is
That's
the
what I'm
point.
asking.
She's influencing them to take an interest in what is happening in the economy because otherwise they wouldn't give two craps. So it's not bitch shut
No,
up.
she's
It's
not.
all right. You think that people did not sit there and take a moment to look at what eggs was costing or whatever?
No, they was looking at her nails. Don't you know? Right after they probably don't you? If you, I think if we, I don't, I didn't pull it up, but if we go through those comments under the video, because I was on Twitter, so if we go through those comments of her video response, it's not going to be, oh my God, thank you for letting me know that the prices go up. It's not going to be nothing praising her that you inform me on the economy. It's not, it's going to be like, that's right, girl, or it's going to be, well, you rich. It's going to be gossipy. No, because her intention
So
was to go at somebody else saying, well, this is why I said it, because I'm going to stay rich because I budget. And then the comments are going to be gossipy.
so at the end of the day, what you're saying is for you, it's about what you can tangibly see that actually validates a person's worth or ability to speak on something, as opposed to the intangibles that you can't.
Right. It
Because
just
just like with this topic, hold on. Because just like with this topic that we're covering today, that's a highly important topic, right? Only the people, well, not only, but a lot of the people that are commenting are dramatic. They're negative. They're messy. They're gossipy. They're snipey. But we also have a few random people in here that are making positive commentary, and a whole bunch of more people that are sitting in the clouds just ingesting the information. As a people, we have to stop, hard stop, looking at the messy negative footprint. People that don't got shit going on, people that are not mentally adept are always going to leave rat droppings to let you know that they've been in a place. But people that are wise, people that are willing to ingest and elevate are going to do just that. There is no need to sit there and be like, oh my God, thank you for a stunning commentary on what is going on in the economy. Because they like, damn, let me go ahead and do some research and look into that and figure out how to move around some money so I can afford these eggs $10 that are $10 a carton.
They're not doing that listening to Cardi B. And that's and
I
it's
think-
and just for people in the chat, this conversation is not about Cardi B. I'm using her and people like her as an example because Black people are fascinated with entertainment. And that is the problem. And the fact is that we're not understanding social media or entertainment bullshit is increasing your depression that you're probably not even aware that you're diagnosed with.
It probably is, but I think we need to have a deeper conversation because in many cases, our younger generation, they're getting their cues from social media and from celebrities. So, but I think both of you ladies are making valid points, and I can see the argument on both sides. But I definitely think that she has some influence on the younger generation.
She has a lot of
hell she has.
The fact that she mentioned that eggs are $8.99 for somebody who wasn't, some of them are hanging on every word that she says. So for those who are hanging on every word, when she mentions that eggs are $8.99 a carton, if they weren't thinking about the price of eggs because they're not doing the shopping, they're going to be a little bit more aware of that just because Cardi B said it.
So,
but now I want to say this. Hold on, because whatever she said about them eggs was it was important enough for Forbes Money to cover it. Now this is Forbes. Forbes is the leading financial analyst magazine in the world.
No,
inflation is creeping. Okay. Inflation is creeping up on the rich. Rapper Cardi B's viral tweet complains about high grocery prices. This is a whole commentary.
Well, what did we just talk about? We just mentioned you on YouTube. You're a content creator. You know this. I just mentioned that when you talk about celebrities, your views go up. So Forbes mentioned Cardi B because she has 100 million followers. She was trending on Twitter saying that. They put that in their website to get traction.
But guess what? I'm not even taking anything away from the fact that they put it on their website to get traction. But the point is this. Cardi B mentioning it now has it being featured on Forbes for people who actually have the great vocabulary to explain the CPI and break this down financially to a whole bunch of other people. So if we can't sit there and minimize people. I think that's one of the things that also contributes to Black women's depression. It's kind of like the butterfly effect. A butterfly can spread its wings over here and just flap them lightly. It's going to create a tsunami in Japan. And that's exactly what that was with that tweet with Cardi B. But because we hypersexualize her and put her in the content of she's just an entertainer and a rapper, then whatever she has to say doesn't matter. And we as women have to stop doing that. Stop saying what people say don't matter.
It doesn't matter. But let me ask you this. Do you think entertainment is helping Black people or harming Black people? The entertainment we see right now.
I think entertainment is exactly what it is. It's entertainment. You have to have a balance in your lifestyle.
I asked you.
You have to be.
I asked you a direct.
And I answered it.
Nope.
I answered it.
No.
I don't think that
entertainment today. And let me ask the ladies too. Entertainment today. Is it helping or harming Black people?
I'll give my opinion. I think it's harming. I think it's harming because we don't know how to separate entertainment from reality.
Now you see what Genesis
I-
says. She put 20 on 10 with it, just like how I said
Yeah.
when she said, because we don't know how to separate. What's harming the Black community is nobody's raising their kids. What's harming the Black community is that nobody has a mindset. What's harming the Black community is that nobody has direction. Everybody's sitting their kids in front of the damn BET, YouTube, Sesame Street, and whatever else, and letting the Live Vision raise their damn kids, because everybody having their kids when they 18, 16, 20, 12, 15, 5. Stop having freaking kids early. Get your mind together as a whole adult. Then raise your kid, and entertainment would not be affecting your household. But I'm gonna be quiet.
I think that we have to remember. I think that we have to remember that entertainment is a form of escapism. Always has been, always will be, right? A lot of times when we talk about this stuff, we talk about it like it's in a vacuum, but in my opinion, there are a lot of things harming the Black community, especially starting after COINTELPRO and after all of the movements were jacked up and dismissed and diminished and all the other things that were put into place to harm the Black community. And if we look at society as a whole, the way that society is headed right now with the advent of technology, escapism is at an all-time high for everyone, not just the Black community. But just like with anything else, everything that affects society is going to impact Black people more severely just because of where we are anyway. So I think sometimes we have to be careful to like paint it as something that's uniquely Black that's happening, because it's like when you look at it, that is what news and everything is in general for American culture. It's freaking celebrity gossip, what this celebrity ate yesterday, who did what, and that's what it is, right? But when you look at, of course, like I say, Black culture specifically, we're going to be negatively impacted by anything that has an adverse effect the most because we're already disadvantaged. So I will say, like, we don't necessarily have the luxury to be in those scenarios because we already was over here, you know. But I wouldn't say it's some uniquely Black thing where it's like, oh, we're just all into this entertainment and we do this. It's like, nah, this is American culture. American culture is very entwined with celebrity culture. Everything is celebrity. We Donald Trump was our president. Who was he? A freaking reality TV star, was the president of the United States. We've also had, who was it? Was it Ronald Reagan? Who else was a movie star that was a freaking president? So I mean, that's just American culture in general. Like, we need to get that under control, but that's how I feel.
Yes,
about it. So
that's what I'm saying.
I just don't like to single out Black people to be like, we're this. It's like, nah, everybody's doing it.
Well, because we're at the bottom when it comes to income, generational wealth, any type. We're at the bottom. We're at the cash.
It's not because of reality TV. It's because of all the things that happen.
No, it's because also, but you're talking about in 2023, you have illegals coming over here surpassing you. And I'm talking about illegals surpassing you because they already have their group that they could connect to. We don't. But the fact is that
right, that they have COINTELPRO. That's kind of what I'm.
No. Let me finish. We have a separate issue already in existence. Correct. But it's never going to get fixed because we are distracted with the Cardi B's and the BETs and all the Chris Sean Rock or whatever. We are distracted with the bullshit.
No, the thing is,
let me ask you this.
I did disagree with you in the way you spoke on the distraction. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is that we always expect Black people to somehow be immune to things that affect the dominant society, and that's all that I was saying. I was saying everybody is distracted by the bullshit. So to think that Black people somehow are supposed to be some type of superhumans that can just avoid what is happening in the predominant society, I think is unrealistic.
No, I mean, because we are Americans, and because
I agree with that, Kenneth. I think the reason why it's talked about, you know, and comments like the ones Dana made are because certain people, certain groups of us look at it like, well, we don't have the luxury to be like everybody else
Yeah.
because we're behind. We don't have that luxury. We need to do what we need to do. We need to stay focused.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say this, and then we're gonna hit it up on the final thoughts. At the end of the day, unfortunately, all we have in our community is the celebrities, because there are no news outlets catered to us, for us, by us. There is a newspaper to us, for us, by us, but I ain't going to talk about it because the man that is penning it or in charge of it is too light skinned and thought to not be one of us, even though we already know what it gives in the United States of America about color. Like everything that's for us, everything that any one of us says that's to wake us up or to sneak in some deprogramming in a programmed society, it's always frowned upon and talked down to. So better than be upset about who is doing what and how their message is being spread, take some time today to think about what you're doing to spread your message and make your message be effective. But we're gonna start with Betty B with the final thoughts.
Let me say something. Why you put me up on the screen?
Because I was getting ready to put Betty. We were about to do final thoughts.
You keep love popping people up on the screen. I was going to say to you, honey, what you mean we don't have new? We are the news, honey. YouTube is popping. We the new black media. It's us.
Right. Exactly. And we ain't no damn celebrities, so why the hell should somebody listen to us? Listen, Dana don't like celebrity. Look. Dana don't like celebrity. All you celebrities, hey boo things, hey butterflies, baby. Y'all just tell the people, come on over. Because we are friends.
But you know what's funny? Because celebrities having, and I'll know this for next time, having a celebrity in your thumbnail or a celebrity name in the title because of the algorithm gets you in more viewership. So we have to embrace celebrity, but I just think YouTube is where it's at. We are the new black media here on YouTube, no matter what size your platform is. So we could put the celebrity on a picture and in the title, but it's really about our content. So, but go ahead.
You're right. Because I know one thing, when we finish this, I'm finna throw Cardi B ass in that thumbnail, honey. I'm finna put Cardi B name in the title. We ain't playing no games with you. No.
You know what? I should have did that in the beginning, Taraji or whatever. But I'm like, okay, we have a good discussion. I'll put this, but it was too conservative. You cannot do that. The people we had in the chat, you cannot have civilized conversations anymore. Like all that was Tony Brown's and Like It Is, those days are gone.
Listen, we could still have the conversation. Dana be letting her audience, have free reign. They be carte blanche.
Inmates run the building.
Yes, she's
80% of my audience are men, and then only 30% are women. So, and this is why, I want to be part of a women's panel to grab more at the women's audience. So, and all those people because I had hid and time out a lot of some people, and it wasn't even a lot, but it was some of them. But they were all men. So because majority of my audience are men. So this is probably a culture shock. But at the same time, that's no excuse for ignorant, disrespectful comments.
That's right. Listen, all you men over there, okay, all you ladies over here, y'all go check out Dana. All you men over there, y'all come over here. Dana's nice, okay? I'm going to spank you a little bit, but I'm going to give you a kiss and a virtual hug and make it all better. So make sure you come there. Oh, okay. So now, Dana, with your ADHD, we about to pop it up on the screen. The single people. I'm gonna save you for last because you co-hosted with me. We're gonna go, Betty. Give your final thoughts. Why you muted yourself? Unmute yourself. Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I did that. You was doing a lot with the noise. Go ahead, Betty.
This whole time I've been trying to talk for the longest. You done muted me. I'm sitting here like I can't talk. Only Genesis paid me any attention. Love you, Genesis. All right, my final thoughts. My final thoughts.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, you don't care about me. It's all right, Robbie. No. Okay, my final thoughts. I think that it's time for us to make a change. We got to let go of the stigma, and as women, you got to get the help that you need, and it's okay. Like things will be okay. The moment recognizing when you do need help is one thing, and then seeking the help, and forget everybody and all the things that they may say about it. That's my final thought, unmuted. Okay.
You tried it. Betty, hang out in the back while we wrap it up. Thank you.
It's
I'm
funny,
not
'cause
playing.
Betty audio sound much better.
Right, at the end of the
She's
show,
off
now
those
her audio is
AirPods.
popping.
She's off those AirPods. So
Shawty
my
tell it.
final thoughts are keep it light, keep it love, y'all. Mental health matters, self-care matters. Make the choices you need to be the best version of yourself. That's it. That's all, y'all.
Bye, baby. You know the routine.
Yes.
Candy.
Yeah, mental health is super important. Don't let anyone stigmatize you or shame you into being vulnerable. It's okay. Because as you can see, they have their own sets of issues, and some people need to touch grass sometimes. Everything is not about a gender war. It doesn't even exist. It's all in your head for the most part. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself first and foremost. Good night.
Oh, we're not gonna be up here together. I can't even hear you. You muted yourself.
I did mute myself. Look, Dana is so spicy. Okay, she's such a
What's
bad.
me? It's you. Oh, but no, honestly, I really love the panel. The ladies, love the ladies. This was a really good discussion, minus the audio. And it happens. Really good discussion. And I definitely want to do this again. Like, you do this every Sunday?
Every Sunday, 7 p.m. CST. Me and the ladies, we get together. We have a good conversation. We would love to have you and Dr. A back on. We definitely have to do a part 2. But,
next week I'm gonna be out of town, but because listen, my viewership tonight horrible. However, the content was great, and I don't know. I want to do it again because I want to know. Maybe it was, it could be the thumbnail, it could be the title, it could have just been the topic. I don't know, but I definitely want to do it again. And then even if the multi-streaming doesn't work, I could just come on your panel. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And not stream for mine or whatever. But I definitely want to do it again. I really appreciate everyone. I really appreciate the women sharing their stories.
Yes.
That's, you know what? And I probably was depressed. I don't think I need to work out. When you work out, that does make you happier. Because it increase, what do you call that? Endorphins and stuff.
Yeah.
But I do have to work on sharing my story a little bit more. But I really respect and appreciate and admire when people, men or women, but especially tonight, the ladies sharing their stories. And they didn't have to. It's nobody's business.
That's right. But don't worry, because I'm going to snatch you up for an episode of Hot Talk one of these Thursdays. Maybe this Thursday. Maybe next Thursday. You never get tell.
What time?
It's going to be 7 p.m. 7 p.m.
Oh,
is
okay.
usually my sweet spot. Yes. It's HO
Okay,
time.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But do that. I'll
Keep it
come on.
Yes.
I'll do my show in the afternoon, but I could come on yours in the evening. So
in the evening, yes. And we got to do another debate. Let me tell you something. If you think that me and Dana debating about Cardi B was spicy, honey, we done debated about feminism. We took opposing sides from where we really be on and talked about that.
You didn't really believe that. It's just that you was the opposer in that. But no, that was good though. That's what I'm saying. Like, we have good spicy debates, but it's not ignorant. You see what I'm saying? It's not
exactly
drama. So,
girl, and listen, it ain't nobody got time for that.
I really enjoyed the ladies because they're very intelligent, great. You know what I'm saying? Everybody brought like their own to the table. That was really good. I need to be more girly.
You do. I'm gonna start snatching you back up, y'all. It's me. I'm a horrible friend. I don't keep up with people. I get so lost in my own source. But I'm gonna start tapping in with my friend more often.
It's a Libra thing.
I'm working on me in 2023, and y'all work on you. But with that being,
that being said, let me just do my little closing thing.
Yep.
But thank you for having me, and I really appreciate doing this multi-stream. I really appreciate the other women; they were great, phenomenal, and I really, Dr. A, and I really think that we need to start talking more about these different topics. But and I definitely look forward to collaborating with more women. That is my goal this year, to do more women topics and collaborate with women more.
Yes, yes. Well, chill out in the back while we close it on down.
All right.
Listen, baby, we done had a blast today. We done acted up, cut up a little bit. You know, I told you, production's all the way up. If you guys need some tips and tricks on how to expand your production and invite other people to stream along with you, you know what it is, thepodpatient.com/services. You see the artwork behind me, honey. If you're gagging and you need it, honey, you need a piece of me in your house, go to the rawgallery.art, baby. There are paintings aplenty, and we have more items coming soon. And, you know, just fly free because it's a privilege. I want you guys to take care of yourself. Thank you for joining tonight. We have so much more to come. And as always, you can join us every Sunday night at 7 p.m. CST for Raw Conversations, Queen's Edition. This has been your host, Robbie Privilege, saying good night and God bless.